Hello everyone, Coasters and Places here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, if you have never watched one of my videos, then welcome. Thanks for joining. And go ahead and subscribe to me. I have quite a few roller coaster related videos and also travel related videos for you to check out, and I definitely appreciate the support, and it helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also, go ahead and like this video so you don't forget. But today's video, I'm going to list what I think, in my opinion, is the best coaster at Six Flags Entertainment Park, and this is going to be the post-merger, so it's going to have all the former Cedar Fair parks as well. And again, these are just all going to be my opinion on what I think is the best coaster at each park. I guess you could say my favorite at each park, honestly. And some of my opinions may be a little controversial. If you don't agree with something though, let me know in the comments what you think I should have picked, or what your opinion is of the best coaster at a certain park. Because let's face it, we're all human, we all have our own opinions, and just because I think this coaster is better than another coaster doesn't mean that because you think this other coaster is better doesn't mean either of us are right or wrong. So yeah, just be respectful about it, because we all do have our own opinions. And this is just what I personally think at each Six Flags park and former Cedar Fair park. So yeah, we'll quit talking about the intro now, and let's get started. So the first park is Carowinds, and of course I'm picking Fury 325 as the best coaster at Carowinds. Fury is honestly one of the best coasters in the world, period. Sometimes it is considered the best, and I completely agree that this is an amazing, incredible coaster. This is definitely my favorite, and in my opinion, the best coaster at Carowinds, and it's not even close. Fury is incredibly tall, incredibly fast, and it's full of great, wonderful airtime, and it's smooth as can be. The experience is just like no other. Absolutely incredible ride. And that is, again, Fury, my pick for Carowinds. For Magic Mountain, I'm going to pick X2 as my favorite and what I think is the best coaster here. And I know some people are not going to pick that. Honestly, Magic Mountain, there's a couple great picks that I think a lot of people would choose. And if you don't agree with this X2, I completely understand that. So I think it's the best because, oh my gosh, the intensity on this thing is just nuts, and it is such a unique coaster, the first of its kind, fourth dimension from Arrow, and it's the controlled flipping ensures you're going to have a great ride every time, and just that first drop especially is so incredibly intense. This thing is just pure chaos in the best way possible. And again, a rare experience, definitely sets this coaster apart, and that's why I think it's the best coaster at Magic Mountain. Moving on to Kings Island, and yeah, there's some really great picks at Kings Island. I'm going to have to choose Diamondback though. Diamondback is actually my favorite B&M Hyper that I have ever rode, and I just love it. I think it has an incredible layout, great pacing, and the splashdown effect at the end is very unique, and it's really great feature, especially to watch. But the ride experience to me is very smooth, and it's chock full of airtime. Like, I feel like my bottom never touches the seat for most of the ride, and I love airtime. So I'm going to, definitely love Diamondback. I do think it's better than Mystic. I do think it's better than Orion. Orion to me is just not that great. I mean, it's still a good ride. I prefer the airtime, and Mystic I think is kind of overhyped. But Diamondback's absolutely incredible. For Six Flags Fiesta Texas, I'm going to choose Iron Rattler. So this is the RMC hybrid that they have. So first of all, it just has an absolutely beautiful setting, how it goes in and out of the quarry, just gorgeous there. So the first drop is amazing. You get some really great ejector and laterals there. And the ride in general has surprising laterals because RMC usually isn't known for laterals, they're known more for their airtime. But Iron Rattler in particular does have some of those amazing laterals, surprising too, that they do. Even some positives are mixed in as well. So the tunnel finale is great and you really get flung up and into that brake run. I think this is an absolutely fantastic RMC, absolutely fantastic coaster, and it's the best at Fiesta Texas. California's Great America, some people's favorite may be Railblazer, but mine is actually Gold Striker. So this is a newer GCI, it's a long GCI as well, so I always love a ride with good length. And to me it's smooth, it has just a fantastic overall layout. And it's also intense, but it has some great ejector airtime throughout the layout, like the tunnels. So just a really great GCI, definitely one of my top 5 favorite GCIs, favorite at California's Great America. I think most of you would agree with me for Six Flags Darien Lake choosing Ride of Steel. So this has absolutely incredible speed to it. Being an Intamin Hyper, you just get absolutely pulled over that first drop, especially in the back. I mean, it just yanks you. Incredible moment right there for sure. And the final hills have really strong airtime in particular, and overall this is just a really good setting too for Ride of Steel. It's pretty. I do really like this coaster, and I think it's definitely the best coaster at Darien Lake. Moving on, I'd like to talk about Six Flags Discovery Kingdom next, and my favorite ride at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, I think for the best coaster there, is the Joker. So this gets a lot of hate at being one of the worst RMCs, but it's still an RMC. It's a great ride. I don't think it's the worst one, maybe a lower tier one, definitely not the worst. So this RMC Joker focuses more on the inversions than it does the airtime. But it has a good flowing layout, and those inversions are really great. So it still packs a punch, although maybe not to the stats and intensity as other RMCs, to the craziness, but it still has great moments of airtime as well, especially in the back. And again, those inversions that it does focus on are really great. Definitely a great coaster. At Dorney Park, it was kind of hard to pick a favorite or the best one here, but I'm going to go with Talon. So this is a B&M invert. Overall, I feel like it's mid to lower tier B&M invert, but here at this park, it's what I think is the best coaster that Dorney has to offer. So about Talon is that it's just very smooth. The inversions are whippy and they are forceful. Maybe not as much as other inverts out there, but they are still forceful. And the pace of the second half is great, and there is even a pop of airtime on this. You wouldn't expect a pop of airtime from an invert, but this one has it. I think the clear winner at La Ronde is going to be Goliath. So this is actually a B&M Mini Hyper because it doesn't quite reach that 200-foot mark that needs to be considered a true hyper. So this is an incredibly smooth ride. And when you actually get to the top of that lift hill, you get a pretty good view of Montreal as a bonus, so that's always nice. And then also, it has incredible sustained floater, and it's just, in general, a floater airtime machine. So if you like floater airtime on a smooth ride, this would be a perfect ride, Goliath. I'd like to do Canada's Wonderland next, and to me, I think the best coaster there is going to be Leviathan, the B&M Giga. So it's fast, smooth, lots of airtime. Just in general, it's an airtime machine. The first drop in particular, you just get a ton of weightlessness, and I really like that feeling. And also, I really like the massive camelbacks that the ride has, so it's really good with utilizing airtime on this. Yeah, I know some people say, I feel like it just needs another element or two because it maybe ends a bit too short. But it's still absolutely world-class, fantastic ride, and the best ride at Canada's Wonderland. So a smaller Six Flags park for sure is the Great Escape. I think Comet is the best coaster at Great Escape. It's an old wooden coaster, but it's still held up pretty good to this day. It's pretty smooth. It is a long ride. Again, huge fan of a long ride. It has good airtime hills, and it has a particularly sharp pop of ejector with lots of floater as well in general throughout the ride, and it's a super fun ride. It's also an old ride, an old woody. I get some nostalgia there as well with the ride. I think it's the star at Great Escape. At Michigan's Adventure, the best coaster at the park is by far Shivering Timbers. So this is a long CCI coaster. The park does pretty good at maintaining it, so it's not awfully rough. It is full of absolutely great floater airtime, and you get those hills one after another, and there's lots of them as well. The helix at the end pulls some good laterals, and the triangle hill in the second half has some really good ejector in particular. This is a coaster that's like, hey, you gotta go to Michigan's Adventure to experience it. I do think it's worth the trip. It's definitely by far the best coaster at Michigan's Adventure and a top wooden coaster in general in the country. At Six Flags New England, there's a couple contenders in my opinion for the best coaster here. Wicked Cyclone or Superman, and I would have to go with Wicked Cyclone, but I could see the argument for Superman Ride of Steel being the best coaster here because it's a great ride as well. But Wicked Cyclone in particular is one of my favorite RMCs. The pacing is good, and it constantly tries to throw you out of your seat with that classic ejector RMC airtime. It's very smooth, and it has a great first drop. Really love the first drop. The stall's incredible, and in fact, all the inversions in general are just incredible on Wicked Cyclone. I think it's a wonderful RMC, and I just have to give it the edge over Superman Ride of Steel, just because I think the airtime's better, and overall, I have a better time on this one. I may get a little hate for Cedar Point's pick. I think the best coaster at Cedar Point is Maverick, not Still Vengeance. Still Vengeance is a second, but Maverick to me takes the crown. The first time I rode Maverick, I was absolutely blown away, and I was blown away by Still Vengeance as well, but I think Maverick extra exceeded my expectations, and it's always been a coaster that has, every time I'm like, what happened? Every time. I forget how intense Maverick is. Maverick is super smooth, and it has everything in it. It's got launches, it's got inversions, it's got whippy transitions, and it's just intense. This thing is just absolutely crazy. I love it. Intamin made a great creation with Maverick. And again, I do love Still Vengeance as well, my second favorite in the park, one of my top 10 overall, but to me, I've just had a better time on Maverick than I had Still Vengeance, and every time I get off going, whoa, 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 it's just that good to me. But if you do have Still Vengeance as your favorite, you're not wrong. It's a great ride. Just, I prefer Maverick. Six Flags St. Louis, kind of a tough park for me to choose a favorite because I feel like it doesn't really have a standout coaster. But I ended up choosing American Thunder because I do really like GCIs, and this is an underrated GCI in my opinion. The Boss, I think it's a little too rough for me. And then you have Mr. Freeze, which is a really great ride. That would have been my second. Maybe some days it could be my favorite. But I'm going to go with American Thunder as the best here. It's a GCI, it has good floater, it's very smooth. On the first drop, you actually get both airtime and laterals. I really like that. It's very well paced. It does have again a good layout. It's short. That's my only complaint with it. But I still think it's my favorite at Six Flags St. Louis. Six Flags Great America, I feel like, has a lot of different coasters that one could say is the best in the park. And again, a lot of contenders, but I'm gonna have to go with Goliath. I think it's a good RMC. It is smooth. It has an incredible first drop. I personally don't think it has any dead spots to it. And the zero G stall is excellent and has some really good overbanks as well. I mean, yes, it is short, but it does pack a lot in that short layout, and I just think it's incredible and is better than the other coasters at Great America. For Valleyfair, my favorite, and what I think is the best coaster there, is Renegade. So Renegade is a wonderful GCI. It has a twisting first drop, which is a lot of fun. In general, it has very good laterals throughout the layout, and the airtime is great as well. There's absolutely no dead spots on this ride, so that contributes to the great layout. It's in a beautiful setting to me, kind of how it goes out in a little bit, and it maintains its speed, and it honestly feels faster than what it actually is. It has a really good sense of speed. You feel like you're flying, and it's smooth. I think it's a great ride, the best at Valleyfair. Six Flags Over Georgia, for most people, would be between Goliath and Twisted Cyclone. I'm gonna have to choose Goliath. Goliath is an awesome B&M Hyper. Obviously, it has a great first drop. It has numerous airtime hills that do provide sustained floater airtime. And some of those hills are actually bordering more on Flowjector or Ejector, which is really great for a B&M Hyper that's normally just a lot of floater. The Helix has some crushing G's as well. Oh my goodness, like if you're not ready, that's going to catch you off guard. And the final hills, again, you really fly out your seat. They're crazy, and it's a good longer ride. Again, big fan of longer rides. This is a very, very complete, very wonderful B&M Hyper. It's a longer ride, and I think it's more of a complete ride than Twisted Cyclone is, and in my opinion, the best one at Six Flags Over Georgia. Six Flags Great Adventure, I'm going to have to go with El Toro, and I will admit it has gotten rougher over the years, definitely needs some TLC, but it's still a very incredible top-notch ride, top 10 ride in general, and still holds up great. It's absolutely an insane ride. The airtime, in particular over the Camelbacks, is great. You get great ejector, and the first drop is absolutely insane. And let's not forget about how incredibly well paced El Toro is. Just intimate. Thank you. And it has a very decent length too, so you're not on it forever, but you're on it for what feels like the perfect amount to get that complete ride. And the twisted section in particular is pretty forceful. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite at Great Adventure, for sure. Frontier City is a park with not a lot of coasters and not a lot of really good ones. The best one there is going to be Diamondback Arrow Shuttle Loop. When you can ride it, when it's up, definitely do it. It has some great ejector, actually. It's a unique coaster model that is very hard to find. The reverse half packs a serious punch as well, and it's just, in general, it's a fun coaster. It is short, but I think it's the most forceful, the most fun coaster that Frontier City has to offer. Knott's Berry Farm, for me, has to be Ghost Rider. And it is a long CCI that had some retracking done by GCI and made this thing really incredibly smooth and even better than it already was. So it's very re-rideable, and hopefully it will be able to be rid in general for many years to come. It has a great first drop, and it has an incredible amount of airtime, just world-class airtime from this CCI creation. And it feels so out of control as well, and you really haul through that layout. And the out of control feeling is just amped up by how fast you feel like you're going. And you're going pretty fast, but it just feels so much faster, more intense than it is. And did I mention the wonderful airtime? Ghost Rider is a masterpiece, and for me, it's not even close. And it's definitely the best one at Knott's Berry Farm. Six Flags Mexico is unfortunately a park that I have not had the opportunity to visit, but from everything I know, watching videos, reading reviews, listening to people, Medusa Steel Coaster I do believe is the best coaster that they do have to offer. This is an RMC creation, so a lot of RMCs on this list, but there's a reason why. So this RMC in particular, the inversions seem to give great hang time, in particular including the barrel roll down drop, which is pretty unique. The airtime hill into the turnaround is very strong, but the drop off is even stronger. And you just get a lot of ejector in this layout. Love ejector airtime. And it just tears through the layout. So you get an absolutely great sense of speed. The length is pretty good as well. This overall looks like a wonderful RMC and does look like the best coaster at Six Flags Mexico. At Six Flags America, I think the best coaster there is going to be Superman Ride of Steel. So it's very smooth. I think it has a wonderful first drop, and there's several ejector moments throughout the layout, including starting with that first drop. And it's just an overall really good feeling of speed. The helixes are intense in particular, and it does also have some good airtime towards the end. It's overall a very well-rounded coaster, and it takes the top spot for me at Six Flags America. At Worlds of Fun, I am going to choose Prowler. I think it's absolutely the best coaster at Worlds of Fun, even if Zinger is newer. I just think this one is still the top dog here. Wonderful GCI. It has great laterals, great airtime. In fact, actually, I would call that airtime strong. It has no dead spots throughout the layout. I love a coaster that just seems like it has a great layout with those no dead spots. The final helix in particular has some really good laterals that you do get from GCI. But again, you do get it combined with its amazing airtime. And the coaster just feels faster than it actually is. Absolutely feels like you're hauling through that layout. And it does not let up on that speed. Prowler it's not even close for Worlds of Fun for me, for Prowler being the best. Six Flags Over Texas. I'm going to go with New Texas Giant. This was the first RMC, so maybe not as good as some of their coasters, but it's still a great ride, and to me, it's definitely the best coaster at Six Flags Over Texas. It has a good first drop with some really strong ejector just throughout. It has a long length, good pacing, and it is full of airtime. And the second overbank in particular actually provides some sideways airtime. I love the way that feels when you're going through the ride. And also the tunnels are really fun on New Texas Giant. Overall, it's just a really good ride, even if it isn't maybe one of RMC's best creation. It's still a fantastic ride, and it takes the top spot at Six Flags Over Texas. Last but not least, for all of the current Six Flags parks, which includes the former Cedar Fair parks, we have Pantherian, which used to be known as Intimidator 305, I-305, a little bit as Project 305. Same coaster, the Intamin Giga Coaster, is going to be my pick for the best coaster at King's Dominion. So they have a great 1-2 punch, also with Twisted Timbers, but I think I'm going to prefer Intimidator or Pantherian more. So first, you got that huge first drop, and then it turns into that first turn, which is incredibly intense. I know it causes some people to gray out, and it originally had to be reprofiled because it was just way too intense. So this coaster is just all about the intensity, which I do love how intense it is. It's crazy how just Intamin made this. It has good transitions and some very snappy laterals. This doesn't really focus on airtime, it focuses more on laterals, just a sheer sense of speed, and just being insane, honestly. It's really something you gotta experience, but it can be a little too much for people, but I love the experience, personally, for me. And that's why it's at my top spot. And that concludes all the parks from the Six Flags Entertainment Corp chain. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you are not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe, and please like this video. It helps me against the YouTube algorithm and helps grow this channel. I really appreciate your support.